Thank God it's Friday. Welcome to the final episode of Business Morning for the week. So let's make the most of it. It's going to be 55 minutes of having relevant and current business conversations here on Channels Television. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Let's begin with what's going on in the oil space. Now, prices rose today around 1.5%, but we're headed for their first weekly loss in 3 weeks, as worries about inflation and China's COVID lockdowns slowed global growth, offset concerns about dwindling fuel supplies from Russia. Brent crude futures were up $1.68 at $109.13 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude futures climbed $1.40 to $107.53 a barrel. The market is continuing to be pushed and pulled by the prospect of a European Union ban on Russian oil, tightening supply, and concerns about faltering global demand. An International Energy Agency report highlights the dwelling factors in the market, saying rising oil production in the Middle East and United States and a slowdown in demand growth expected to fed off an acute supply deficit amid a worsening Russia supply disruption. Related to that, but back here in Nigeria, the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority says it has disbursed over $58 billion to oil marketers within the last 6 months. And this comes amid reports of fuel scarcity in some states, especially the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja. In a statement, the NMDPRA says that out of that amount, 34 billion naira went directly to members of the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, that's IPMAN. It also mentioned that some of the pending payments were due to reluctance of marketers to reconcile their claims. Let's go to the non-oil space now. Dealing with supply chain constraints experienced by exporters in Nigeria brought the executive of the Nigerian Export Promotion Council to Lagos for a sensitization program on domestic export warehouse, which is called DUE. According to the executive director of NEPC, Dr. Ezra Yakusak, the scheme will eliminate bottlenecks which exporters in the country have been facing.
We can appreciate with the fact that to transport a 40-foot container from Lagos port to China it will cost you about $3,500. But to transport that same port from that same 40-foot container from the port to Lagos mainland will cost about $4,000 in the same country, in the same state. You understand? So we just feel there's need for us to because it's affecting export, it's affecting our job. And in NEPC, whatever we do, no matter what we do, if it doesn't translate to non-oil export in terms of volume and value, we feel we are not doing right. The DUE project is a project where you identify a warehouse. By the way, it's a PPP arrangement, a public-private partnership arrangement. You identify a warehouse, and it's like a one-stop facility where the custom, the quarantine service, the pre-shipment inspection agents, they will be there, they will go there and inspect the goods and do whatever they need to do as if it's in the port. And once that is done, the goods will be loaded in a truck and it will be sealed with the emblem DUE, Domestic Export Warehouse.
Well, still talking about that space, the non-oil space, small and medium-scale enterprises, that's the SMEs. They form the bulk of businesses in Nigeria. And according to the Nigeria Bureau of Statistics, small and medium-scale enterprises have contributed 48% of the national GDP in the last 5 years, with a total number of about 17.4 million. They account for 50% of industrial jobs and nearly 90% of the manufacturing sector, and that's in terms of enterprises. So how can we make the most of these numbers and even ramp up these numbers? We have the founder of SoftLink AI, Daniel Foley, talking to us about the future of SMEs and how to maximize the opportunities that they have. Hi, Daniel. Good morning.
Morning, Ini. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing good. So let's start from
Great.
where we are. Where, from your own perspective, is the development, the state of development of SMEs in Nigeria?
Well, in terms of development in the last 5 years, I would say that, SMEs have developed in terms of, being able to communicate themselves and communicate their brand. And one of the major challenges that SMEs used to have is marketing, but these days they've, improved in that regard. However, one key issue that I think, a lot of SMEs are facing right now is the issue of rising inflation, right? And the issue with that is when inflation, right, is on the high side, people are worse off, right? Which means that if income and if the salaries you pay don't rise at the same pace, right, then these businesses can obviously not pay their employees well, right, and they also lose sales in the process. And that's really the issue that there is now. But talking about the future for communication and the marketing for SMEs is the new buzzword in the tech space that a lot of people do not understand, and that is the metaverse, right? Which is going to change typically everything in business communication.
Yeah, so when you say metaverse, I think the mind of a lot of people will go to the crypto space, the
Yeah,
virtual world, and
yeah.
SMEs are in the real world. So, how do you link metaverse in the virtual world to SMEs that operate in the real sector, in the real world?
Okay, interesting. So I like the fact that you're talking about the real world, and the virtual world. But what many people do not understand about the metaverse, right, unto date, is that um, the metaverse is not just the virtual world alone. So it's the combination of the real world and the virtual world, which means that virtual goods can actually, appear in real world. So it's like magic, right? So if you think that the internet and the advent of telecommunications, right, is magic enough, then you need to think again with what is going to happen with the metaverse.
So give me specifics now. I am an
Yeah.
SME operator. I deal
Okay.
in, for instance, palm oil. Right. I go
Cool.
and get my palm kernel and then I
Yeah.
process it locally and then I sell it locally. So what concerns me with metaverse?
Fantastic. So if you sell palm oil, right, as a business, every business has to, find a way to do customer support, right? Because of course, you're not in business for yourself alone. You're in business to serve your customers, right? And so one key area that the metaverse is going to transform is customer service, which means that how do you serve your customers? How do you even transact, for instance? Now, another aspect is also marketing, which is how do you advertise your product? Okay. So in the manufacturing of your goods and services, right, you may not necessarily see in the virtual world play a key role there, even though as technology advances, we begin to see a lot of that, right, when it comes to R&D and quality assurance. However, in aspect of customer support, right, for your business, you're going to need to have a virtual space, right, and be able to interact. So imagine, for instance, if you go to a website, right, and you want to purchase something, you have a chat section and you say hello to the customer service, right, and they reply. Good. These conversations now will no longer be in the chat section, neither will they be in the Instagram DMs, right? They're actually going to be a real human being speaking to another human being in the virtual space. So let's say you're selling like 5 liters of palm oil or you're selling 20 liters of palm oil. What this means is that rather than tell the customer via text in the chat that, hey, what I'm giving to you, right, is a 5 liter palm oil, you can actually hold the palm oil, right, the gallon of the palm oil, the customer can collect it from you, feel it, touch it before they actually make a buying decision. So that's really the power that we're going to see here. So the things that you used to see in pictures before, right, that you can only see but you cannot touch nor feel, in the metaverse, right, and in the way it's going to happen, you would actually be able to feel it. So shoes, take for instance, you can actually wear a shoe. That's the interaction of now. The shoe is not real; it's virtual, but it's just a perfect replica of what is real, right? And so if you fit clothes on, because the fashion industry is going to be completely, revolutionized, right? The way it's going to happen, and also the customer support industry. So it's a lot of, real things mixing with virtual things. But I mean, in the human life, communication is basic, is foundation. People need to communicate. What is happening now is not a different kind, it's just a different kind of communication, which means taking experience to another level.
Well, Daniel, these pictures that you paint, I'm trying to
Yes.
grasp them. And it seems, I mean, for for me as a palm oil producer, a local palm oil producer and seller,
Yes.
it's light years ahead because at
Okay.
this time, at this level of my operation, I want to automate my production process first. You know, I want to
Good.
ensure that I have the best high tech to process the palm kernel to my palm oil before I start thinking of all of this. So this is like way ahead of me. Why should I even listen to this conversation?
Okay, now many people think that this is way ahead and maybe it's going to take 10, 20 years. Okay, but let me give you a picture here. Facebook grew to over 1 billion users. Instagram grew to over 1 billion users without the existence of Facebook. So you see what I'm saying? You can have 1 million followers on Instagram today, for instance, because of course there is Instagram. But nobody's really asking the question, how was Instagram able to do it? That they even got 1 billion followers, 1 billion users. It was much difficult then, right? It took them years. And that's why if you notice platforms like TikTok, right, and Snapchat did not take that much time to actually hit those numbers. Why? Because there was already technology and the platforms that had been built. So it happened faster for them. Now, what is going to happen with the metaverse is this. It's going to happen even 200 times faster, right? So it's going to come closer than we think. Why? Because Facebook themselves and Instagram themselves, all they need to do is port all their existing users directly into the metaverse. So all of a sudden, metaverse today, the population is maybe about 2 million to 10 million, depending on what solution. But all of a sudden, within 6 months, you can typically see that number rise to billions, which means that many people will be on this platform sooner than most business owners think. Right now, what business owners now need to understand is one of the things that bring advantage in business is the knowledge and access to technology. Right? It means that as a palm oil seller that you are, if you have the understanding of this technology and how it's going to work, and you actually have a platform that plugs your e-commerce platform into the metaverse ahead of many of your competitors, this one change can actually put you 20 times ahead, right, than you would have done. So it is important that you don't just sit back. Imagine those who are, who sat back and said, okay, telecoms, how can I call somebody that is not here and speak to them live, right? Or these days that we're doing live streaming from Lagos to London, those who sat behind more, scorning those innovation, they lost out. Okay. And so if a business owner, especially African businesses, don't want to lose out, what we must do is to jump on this technology very quickly, learn about it very quickly, because the way the world is, the faster you learn, the faster you can earn. Okay. And the faster you can grow. And so it's important that we open our minds up and know that these things will happen for real, right? The tools, the technology, the platform is already there. The people are already there, right? So this is not just some imaginative technology. No, the devices have been built. Okay. And so it's going to happen very quickly. And those who get ahead and those who jump on it, right, are those who are actually going to, be ahead. And really, that's what we are trying to do, at SoftLink as a technology company to help people build websites that can actually exist on the metaverse.
All right, Daniel, I'm convinced now. My palm oil business should be on Metaverse. But I mean, I'm still struggling with funding, especially, I mean, you talked about
Yeah.
the issue of inflation, which is the reality, global reality at this time. A
Yeah.
cost of operation is already high up there. And my salaries are there to be paid. Operations and diesel, is there. So how or where do I get the funding from? Why should I
Yeah.
prioritize this? Where am I going to get the buffer from, to now put this? Because, I mean, it's going to cost money, obviously.
Yes. Okay, thank you, Ini. And I like the way you described, these problems that SMEs are facing, right? You were completely spot on. Myself, I run a small business. We're about 28 employees in the organization, right? And I will tell you something, Ini. In the last 2 months, I lost about maybe 4 employees, right, who actually dropped in their resignation letter. One, which is a very key member of the team, actually submitted a resignation letter about 3 days ago, and she's going to be exiting the company soon. So now, why? And these issues can be linked definitely to the fact that, all of a sudden, their expenses rose. transportation cost, everything. And they're looking at it that, okay, this pay that used to be this way, right, will it actually carry me through? Okay. And for that, maybe they have to jump ship, right, for these reasons. Okay. And that's what is happening across. You see some business owners now, interviewing employees, and these employees are asking for remote work, right, because they can't afford transportation to actually come to the office. The question is this: can business owners actually double the salaries that they pay their employees the way the inflation have changed? No. Why? Because I don't think that they have experienced that much growth, right? Because the inflation is rising faster than the growth that they're experiencing. Now, we know that from time memorial, right? Access to capital, right? Marketing and access to technology has always been the big problem, right, for SMEs, which means that if I have the right money, right, that is sufficient enough to start the business and get it off the ground, and I have the right money to access the markets, which is to fund my marketing and communications, and I have the right money to invest in the right technology to be able to scale, that business has, 9 out of 10 chances to actually survive. Okay. And so what we are trying to do is typically just looking at, okay, if we can actually improve the way businesses market themselves, right, and improve their access to technology, which is giving them good technology, sophisticated but simple technology, right, to make the right decisions, maybe we can actually fix the access to capital. Because if you have technology and you have access to the market, most small businesses are actually able to develop the product with little or no funding. The problem is, scaling it and selling more of the same product. That's really where the problem is. So if you can fix technology and we can fix marketing, then possibly we may have, in the process, 8 out of 10 times I've actually solved the problem of access to capital, right? Which is, typically what we're trying to do: help them build websites, give them the right technology, and then, if they have these tools and they have this marketing, tools to help them make sales, then they probably would be able to survive, much more than other businesses out there. So
Yeah,
in
Daniel.
the end, you still need to make some investment as a business owner.
All right. And you said if we can fix technology and fix marketing, I think another thing that's here in Nigeria we also need to fix is the quality of our products. Because I know you have the story of when we tried to export yam, and in the process,
Yeah,
we got
yeah.
bashed and all that, and then we've tried to do grains, and then we do have issues with that, exporting our grains, and which is why at the end of the day a lot of our products are being exported in raw form, which doesn't give the
Yes.
country enough value. So while we try to work on the marketing, the technology, the packaging, I guess SMEs in Nigeria should also look at the quality of their product, because if you have all of this fanciful packaging and then the product itself does not meet up with international quality demands, so that can also spoil everything that you have invested.
Yes. Now, very good comments there, and that's absolutely true. But how do we solve it? Because the problem is obvious. Virtually everybody knows what the problem is. What is not clear is how do we solve this problem? And I'll tell you what the solution is your people, your processes, and your R&D. Okay. If we can solve those three things, and this is where government plays a key role, and this is where, the private sector, especially those who are able to fund businesses, also play a key role, right? Business goes beyond just, giving the business owner the money or the tools or everything they need. It also goes into looking into their processes and their systems. And this is where CEOs and entrepreneurs must take responsibility. As an entrepreneur, you must fix your processes, which is how do we even develop these products? How do we create them? What are the ingredients that go into it? Because it's in between your processes that you find quality assurance. Okay. And you can't do that right if you also don't invest in research and development. You will find out that most small businesses, right, they were especially, in the agri sector, still do things the way they were done maybe 50, 70 years ago. But new ways to do the same things already exist. There is new technology that simplifies processes that make, let's take, for instance, in the processing of further rice, right? And destoning the further rice. There are better equipment today that can help you destone the further rice. But you still see some of these business owners, right, who use manual labor to destone, and that drastically reduces the quality of this product. So there is no doubt that we need to invest in research and development. This is where I think that government and institutional investors, right, on the African continent need to put in a lot of work and, need to be aggressive about it. I'm not just talking about, just doing something and call it, just for the sake of clout. I'm talking about an ambitious government and an ambitious, venture capitalist. Okay, let us solve this problem of R&D, help this business make this, understand how this thing should be created. And then the business owner can take responsibility in hiring the best people, because this is also a big issue. If you don't have good people in your organization, you cannot do excellent stuff, right? And so hiring the best people, that also, goes back to our education system. Are the people even there? Even if you have the money, can you find the right talent to build the solutions you're looking for? And honestly, that's one area that a lot of tech companies struggle with on the African continent. So, there's a lot of levels of these problems, but in the end, I think
obviously a lot that we cannot capture in one conversation. Daniel Foley, thank you so much for this interesting conversation. And we do hope that SMEs will prioritize, some of the things you have noted and the stages required to develop their businesses, because the country needs it. I mean, their contribution to the GDP is also major. Thank you so much, Daniel Foley, founder SoftLink AI. Thank you for your views this morning.
Thank you very much, Shani. My pleasure.
Yeah. So next, have you ever thought of yourself as a change maker? Well, Ashoka believes everyone is a change maker. Find out how after the break. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. Yeah, welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television. Social entrepreneurship is an approach by individuals, groups, startup companies, or entrepreneurs in which they develop, fund, and implement solutions to social, cultural, or environmental issues. In Nigeria, that space has become really busy in recent times. And one of those who have made that busy is Ashoka, which is one of the largest network of leading social entrepreneurs operating in the country. Their latest activity is tagged Everyone a Change Maker Movement, and is done with Ashoka Young Change Maker Program, which targets teens between the ages of 12 and 20. We have their global vice president of Ashoka now, Pape Sam, joining us to tell us what this is about. Good morning, Mr. Sam. I think the first thing would be to say congratulations on the launch of your program, Everyone a Change Maker. Even though we're not there, it would be good to know what that is all about and some of the things you achieved at that launch.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me this morning. The Everyone a Change Maker movement is a movement that Ashoka has started worldwide. And as you said about social entrepreneurship, Ashoka started in 1980, where we started electing leading social innovators. And those are what we call the Ashoka Fellows. And these are people who come up with new ideas, people who change system, people who replicated their model, people who are really solving social problems with their own dimes. So we have done that from the 80s to the 90s. And then we realized pretty much that we are electing only one social innovators, leading social innovators are outside of 1 million people. So we said, if really this world, the rate of change, how it's going in this world, the change is happening every second in this world, and we are not creating solutions every second in this world. What is the best way really to outrun the rate of problem creation with the rate of solution creation? Meaning, how can we make sure that we create more solutions than problem, or as many solutions that problems exist? That's when we decided the only way to do that is to make sure that every single human being becomes a change maker. Every person becomes a change maker. And that means that young people, adult people, anybody really has the power, the skills, the resources, the tool to be able to create change in their own communities. And that's what the Everyone a Change Maker movement is about.
Great, Mr. Sam. And of course, I know you emphasize that the change we want is the positive change and not just the change. Yeah, could you briefly highlight some of the initiatives and the benefits for people who become part of this Ashoka Young Changemaker AYC program?
Yeah, just to start maybe with some of those things, like we have, I'll take two profiles. We have Deborah Benjamin, and then we have Godwin Kevin. So Deborah Benjamin is a young change maker, really committed to create a safe environment for young people from sexual violence. And what she wants to do is really to help them make a better decision about their sexual safety through advocacy, through training, through empowering. And she uses community leadership to come up with creative sex education and design thinking to help them not just stay safe from their sexual abuse, but to also create sustainable solutions to gender-based violence, self-esteem, building other related social problems. So that's really what Deborah is doing. And she's really changing her own community. She's really supporting her community. She's really changing other young girls. And we have Kevin. Kevin is a young change maker working on making sure that access to opportunity for young people is available. And he's committed to connecting young people to available resources, for example, training and engagement that helps them become individuals that desire change and working toward that change to make that change happen, but also, like you said, to create youth engagement for positive change. So these are two young people who are really making change. And why this is really important for everybody, for everyone. So you look at it, you see that, right now what we did was just we launched the movement. But we need to create what we call a core group, a core revolutionary group. This means from next-gen leaders, the next leaders of companies, from media, from publisher, from teachers, teacher unions, from school, from governments, and from youth as well, which is the young change makers. Everyone needs to understand the new game. And the new game is really how to address this new inequality, how to really face this new reality. The new reality is that we have them versus us. So everywhere you're saying that people are saying, oh, these people have more and we don't have anything, or these people are taking this, we don't have anything. So we need to create a framework, which Ashoka is doing, of empathy. How do we care about each other? Teamwork, how do we collaborate? Change makings, how do we challenge the status quo? What we see and it doesn't change, how do we challenge it? And a new leadership, and the new leadership is really what we call co-leading. So everybody leads together. And this is why it's important for everyone, for communities, for families, for schools, for companies. If we really don't understand this, we'll be left behind, and meaning that at some point we'll be pointed and there will be created the new inequality, and it's a new reality that everybody needs to face. So it's important for everyone to strive together, to work together, to grow together.
Yeah, so you mentioned two words or phrases that caught my attention there. The first is, you just mentioned that the inequality, which is one thing that the world is, actually trying to, reduce the inequality in the world, both for income and for gender. And then you also mentioned the new game. So tell us about this new game you're talking. What is that about, and how can businesses stay ahead of this new game? Then we'll go to the inequality.
Yes. So the new game, like I said, is really the new framework that we need to work on. Business needs to understand that their employees are their first clients. They have families. They have to deal with regular problems. They have to really be empathetic. They have to teach their kids to understand where they're going to be successful in life. Because the life that we know is a life that's really repetitive. If companies always hires people with technical skills can be learned, but there are other skills that no one can learn pretty much. You need to develop that. And these are the skills that Ashoka talks about, which is empathy, which is teamwork, as I mentioned, which is change-making skills, which is new leadership. These are the new games that people need to understand, that if you really don't want to get to a place where, which I think we're almost there, where people always clash, people always fight, people always feel like, I'm behind, this one is taking whatever. But we need to thrive together. It's not, and for everyone to do that, you have to really master those new skills of empathy, of change-making, of leadership, new leadership, and also of teamwork, which is collaboration. That's the new game. So for company to be able to be successful, the next generation of leaders need to understand that, meaning the next CEO, the next managing director need to understand that, because the world is changing constantly. So what you're dealing with today is not what you're dealing with tomorrow. So families need to understand that the way we do parenting today is not the way we're going to be doing parenting tomorrow. we leaders of unions, the way we're teaching, we need to look at it as well. The way we're collaborating, the way we're cohabitating, religion, all of those things really requires these 4 skills. Empathy, how do we live together? Teamwork, how do we work together? Change making, how do we challenge the status quo? New leadership, how do you solve those things together?
Yeah, so how do we use this new game to deal with the problem or the challenge of inequality, which is obviously with us?
Yeah, so the new inequality is really the new reality. And the new inequality is always the them versus us. It's always us versus them. That's the new equality, because you realize that, oh, they have, they don't have. So always there is one group blaming the other group. It's either it's in religion, either it's in economy, either in social goods. Whatever it is the new equality. We always pointing fingers to them. So the question is, how do we thrive together? How do we work together? How do we collaborate together? And that new game and new reality is really based on this, being ahead of the game by mastering those 4 skills that we mentioned. The 4 skills are definitely empathy. 1, how do I treat you? How do I deal with you? How do I look at you? And empathy really comes with this based is in trust, getting to know each other. And again, to repeat it again, is really teamwork, collaboration. How do we work together? How do we really put aside our differences and come together with what brought us together? What are our goals? What are we trying to achieve? Change making. Change needs to happen, and it's happening every second. So how do we keep up with change? By getting young people, by getting CEOs, by getting companies to understand that, we have to really since change is creating every day, we have to come up with new solutions. We always need to work to create new solutions. And once the good solutions are not created by one person, because solutions to create community problems, to solve community problems, then communities and leaders need to come together. So this is really what we need to do to face it. And that's what Ashoka is doing. We just launched it in Nigeria, the national Everyone a Change Maker Nigeria, which means that we're building a core team from Ashoka staff members, and then from our core leaders, from any allies, champions, companies. And so we now have the young change makers who are really also co-leading, because young people need to co-lead with us. They need to work with adults. They need to be treated as equal partners. And then you go to the next generation of leaders. Who are the next CEOs of companies, of media, of publishers? How do we share stories? How do we educate in our school? How do we inspire them to be more positive or more impactful? That's really how we address the new games. And that's why we invite everybody to be part of this historic moment of really creating and building Everyone a Change Maker movement, where everyone creates a solution to a problem.
Okay, we'll get to how everyone can be a part of it or can reach out to you. But you had your launch on Wednesday. Do you have other events? I think you have something in July.
Yes. So the next step definitely is that we'll be going first in the next few weeks and so on months. We'll be going to what we call the metro areas. So the metro areas is that we'll be launching the same thing in Lagos as we just did. You said we'll be doing it in Port Harcourt. We'll be doing it in Abuja, in Kaduna, in Yola. And then from there, as well, we'll really try to gain a bigger momentum by building a bigger network of collaborators, bringing more people to call it. And we'll bring a faith-based communist organization, faith-based organization, community-based organization. We'll bring companies to become change makers, which is what you were asking, really change makers companies who are not only working on generating revenue, which is important, and profit, but also solving problems of their own clients, their own communities. So we'll bring them. We'll bring also entrepreneurs, diaspora leaders. And why are we doing all of these things? Because we want this movement to be self-sustainable. And the only way the movement can be self-sustainable is when everybody leads. And then in July, we have what we call Impact Africa. The Impact Africa Summit is really a summit where we highlight the most innovative solutions in the world and in Africa, where we'll bring also leaders from all over the world, innovators from all over the world, companies from all over the world to come in Nigeria for 2 to 3 days, really to showcase the best solutions that are happening in the world in different sectors, you name it, climate change, health, youth employment, social innovation, education, you name it. So they will be here in July from the 25th to the 26th. But before we get to that, we'll be getting to the metro areas, like I mentioned, to Kaduna, to Port Harcourt, to Enugu, and so on.
All right. Do people need to register for these events, or they just come on, go to your website or something?
So yes, they can register, but they also can reach out to anyone from the Ashoka network. We have our Africa head office here in Lagos. We have our regional director, who's Josephine Enzerom. So anybody can reach out to Josephine. They can reach out to any other colleagues as well we have here. So their contacts will be shared. They can find it on the website. And also they can reach out to the young change makers. They can reach out to partners like we've been working with the Minister of Education. We've been working with Trace TV, with Lantern Book, and you name it. And our Ashoka fellows, you can reach out to them. So anybody can reach out to any of our partners or Ashoka or the staff of Ashoka to be part of this event.
All right. Thank you so much, Pap Sam, Global Vice President of Ashoka. We wish you the best in your lineup of events and as you try to make everyone a change maker. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having us. Have a good day.
We move to the markets now. Equities in Nigeria has not, the bubble is not burst yet. It's still going higher and higher. And even a lot of traders have not been able to explain what's driving the market. People say it's the earnings, but we've had earnings before now. We've not had this skyrocketing movement. But maybe Will has the secret of what's driving the market to such heights. Hi, Will.
Good morning. I have no secret. I'm wondering what's happening to the market too, but it's a good and positive news for the market. I'm just gonna, enjoy the ride while it lasts. While it lasts. The market is up and it's down the next day. So I'm just gonna enjoy it and see where it takes us to. So trading in the equities market to sustain the positive momentum. Investors were interested in Lafarge, Okomu Oil. It drove the benchmark index higher by 0.15%. Now we're still at the 52,917.76 points. Yesterday at intraday, it hit the 53,000 level. We're hoping that today it hits it at the close of the bell. Now, equity cap is still at 28.528 trillion naira. Total volume of trades transacted yesterday, it increased yesterday about 2.1% to 426.02 million units of sales transacted. It was only the deals that was down about 22% yesterday. It was valued at 5.7 billion naira, and deals was at 7,639. Now, Transcore was the most traded stock yesterday by volume. The stocks demanded 94.39 million units of its shares, and Zenith Bank followed by Lafarge. Lafarge was also the most traded stock by value yesterday at 601.95 million naira. On the sectors, we had consumer goods, which are up. Only the banking index was down yesterday, but we moved quickly to the fixed income markets where, the NASD markets where movement was up positive yesterday, 0.57%, rebounding from Wednesday's negative movement. The market cap is back to the 1 trillion naira mark there. Now we move over to volume. Volume also was up. Value was up. Deals executed was just 4 yesterday. Now, fixed income space, we saw a bit of, quiet movement. Investors were still waiting on the NTB auction that has happened, and they wanted to see what, how they're going to move their investments around. But we'll bring in Ifeoma Onyejekwe, fixed income dealer at UBA, to tell us more about that. Good morning, Ifeoma.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you always. Now, we're going to go strictly and see why JP Morgan removed Nigeria from the list of emerging markets that was this week. How do you think that's going to affect, especially our sovereign bonds, our bonds, in the fixed income space? How do you think that's going to affect investors' interest in Nigeria's bonds?
Well, that was very interesting when it happened. So it happened on the 11th. That was on a Wednesday. And the next day, we saw yield shoot up from like 10, 11 levels to like 13% levels. But then after that, we've seen it, stabilize at that level. And we have seen some bonds being bought at very deep discount right now. So yes, that wasn't good for us. And the fact that they also replaced us on their recommendation list with Serbia and Uzbekistan. So it doesn't shine a good light on Nigeria to investors, both domestic investors and foreign investors.
So you're thinking this is not a negative thing per se for Nigeria?
Yes, not. Well, it did have a negative effects for a couple of days, but now we've seen investors, calm down in the markets. Unlike when the news first broke, then there was chaos a little in the market where people, were selling off their stocks, and that caused an increase in yields. But now we've seen a stabilization in the market.
Okay, great. So we're going to go quickly to NTB's, the Treasury Bills auction on Wednesday, and give us just a quick summary, a breakdown of what that result was and how that panned out for the market.
So yeah, subscription was at very, very healthy levels. We investors came to the market at subscription levels of 377 billion, and the DMOs by the CBN offered 127 billion, while they sold 137. News reaching the market was that they would have liked to sell more, but rates were not favorable to them. So it ended up being the 91 and 182 day bills remained stable at 174 and 3%, while we saw a decline in rates on the 1 year bill to 4.7 from 4.79. And we've also seen, that ripple effect in the secondary market where investors have been buying up favorable rates while they wait for the next auctions. There was also an OMO auction on Thursday, and the CBN offered less than they usually did. They offered 30 billion and also sold 30 billion, and rates remained stable at 7, 8.5 and 10.1% for the short, medium and long tenor bills respectively.
So are you saying that there's a pullback in demand or in the supply that is the offer?
There's a pullback in supply for the OMO auction, but then for the NT bills, they've been offering a little bit more. They've been selling a little bit more than they offer. But we know that they would have loved to sell more, but until rates become more favorable to the central bank, they'll continue to sell below what they can supply. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ifoma, for your insights on the program. Always good to have you. That's Ifoma Onyejekwe, fixed income dealer at UBA. So, Ini, that's what the market is saying. And we'll probably see more cautious trading from investors in the coming week, especially today.
And then I do know that investors are also looking at what the MPC decision will be, which is just in about 2 weeks.
Yes, definitely.
That will also bring some life or take some life from the market.
I'm sure that is going to deal with that tomorrow on Capital Market.
Yes, exactly. So tomorrow, 7 p.m., you can get more elaborate conversations on what's going on in the market, the fixed income market, the equities market, and a summary of that celebration that we've been doing all through the week for equities at 7 p.m. tomorrow during Capital Market. Please join us at that time. For now, thank you so much, Will.
You're welcome.
Yeah. So we'll take a break now. When we come back from that break, we'll head to London. Do stay with us. This is Business Morning on Channels Television. Hey, welcome back. You're still watching Business Morning on Channels Television. Well, as fears of recession heightens, the government in the United Kingdom is being asked to deliver an emergency summer mini budget. We'll have our correspondent there from London in the studio. Juliana joining us now. Hi, Juliana. Good morning.
Good morning, Ine.
Yeah, so this call for summer mini budgets, what really is expected to address?
Well, the Chancellor is under significant pressure to act on the cost of living crisis, which is really affecting UK households up and down the country. I think that was made pretty clear yesterday when we received data from the Office for National Statistics, which revealed that in March, the economy shrank by 0.1%. And I think the concern, not just for the government, but for charities and households, is that things only got worse in April. So we are expecting the economy to shrink even further. And some of the agitations highlighted by the Bank of England about a recession could become a reality. And now we're not sure that the August statement that is currently being worked on by the Chancellor Rishi Sunak will be a budget of some sort. The government have actually ruled that out. They ruled it out yesterday because of the Prime Minister's. There appeared to be a misinterpretation of the Prime Minister's statement following the Queen's speech on Tuesday, where he told opposition MPs in the Palace of Westminster that he would be doing something to resolve the crisis very soon. The media ran with that, and then yesterday, the Levelling Up Secretary, Michael Gove, said there would absolutely not be a budget. However, we do know that things are getting out of hand. There's so much data suggesting and revealing that customers are not spending, and if customers don't spend, the economy can't grow. The reason why they're not spending is because they don't have enough money in their back pocket. So the Chancellor has said that what he will do is in August deliver this statement to try and tackle some of the issues that customers are facing, or consumers and British citizens are facing, particularly when it comes to energy bills. And we know that around that time, the energy regulator, Ofgem, is expected to hike energy bills again. So they were already raised last month. We're expecting them to be raised again in September. So by the end of the year, people could be paying up to £3,000 a month, a year for their energy bills. I think that's definitely over 1 million naira, Inni. So yes, it is getting really tough. It's getting really tough, but we'll just have to wait and see. Which, is some famous words in this business sector.
Yes. Well, Juliana, I can't imagine paying 1 million naira for energy bills. That's a lot. Well, at this time, I guess I'm better off in Nigeria. But, the Prime Minister is also talking about looking towards the civil service, maybe to get some cash trapped in there in civil service. But I think you have that conversation with Ladi later on at 1:30 during Business Incorporated and some other development in the UK at that time. Thank you so much, Juliana. I'll talk to you then.
Thank you, Inni.
Let's head to the crypto space now. The market, the equities market that is doing well. I can say same. I don't know when the lot would change for
the crypto space.
Yesterday there were screaming headlines everywhere. Yeah. Ladi, are you sure that Bitcoin is going out of place? It's not going to be dumped finally?
Remains to be seen. It's a wait and see, as Juliana said right there. And we've seen the market deeper into extreme fear. But we've seen Bitcoin actually try to reclaim some of the losses this morning. We're seeing, quite an improvement, this morning with gains. We see the market cap, the $1.31 trillion, that's up by 11% this morning, but still far from the $2 trillion mark we're used to in this market. Let's bring in Michael Inaji now, a digital market analyst. Hello, Michael. Good morning.
Good morning, Letty. Thanks for having me. Happy Friday.
Yeah. Happy Friday, Michael. And you did predict this. You said Bitcoin would dump as low as the 20K range. And we're seeing it right now. It's happening right there, Michael. What else are you seeing in your crystal ball?
I'm seeing much lower downside. I've been saying this for a while. I think the economic calamity awaiting us up ahead will be the worst one of probably our lifetimes. You will see most emerging markets currencies fail. Unfortunately, that would also probably include the Naira. The economic picture does not look good at all. And I've been saying this for a while. Once the Fed starts raising interest rates, you're going to see the price of borrowing go up, and you're going to see the price of doing business go up. And that's going to affect everybody from Bitcoin to even countries.
Wow, quite a bleak outlook, Michael. You got right there. But at the same time, what if
cleanse the excess liquidity?
Right. Yeah, that's a lot of money was printed, during the pandemic. But Michael, what if at some point, the U.S. inflation peaks, and what can we expect if that happens?
The U.S. inflation, even if it does peak, inflation, the speed in which inflation has increased, it's still running away from the Fed. So even if the headline inflation numbers do come down, the magnitude at which inflation is happening is just at a fervouring pace. So even if the Fed even if the numbers were to decrease, the Fed is still behind the curve. So I still expect more downside to as low as 14K. That's been my target, and I'm still sticking with that. I still think we get a wick all the way to at least 14 to 16K. And you can expect the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, all other indices to go down another 10, 15, 20% from here.
Right.
So I think we have a bloodbath awaiting us, and I still think cash is king.
Cash is king. All right, Michael. Thank you so much for that bleak outlook from your crystal ball.
Sometimes it's needed.
It's needed, right? Thank you so much, Michael. Enjoy the weekend.
No worries. Bye-bye now.
All right, Ini. Well, Ini, I hope your mood is not dampened by that.
My mood is even worse than it was. I mean, Michael was so...
I know. It's the reality.
Just hitting it right there, like the
right.
harsh reality. Deal with it.
Really harsh reality, Ini. And I keep saying it's not easy being an investor in these times.
You need to have
quite a lot to
You
unpack.
need to have a big heart. Is it a big heart or a hard
heart? Like a
heart?
heart of stone, or no emotions. Just trade the market with no emotions, basically.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Ladi. That's it on the program today. But do remember, 1:30, we'll be back with Business Incorporated. And tomorrow, 7 p.m., Ladi will be here for Capital Market to give you more elaborate conversations around the fixed income and equities market. But now, I'll say bye-bye. I'm Ini John Mekwa.